Hello and welcome to the third Astraddle podcast. I am Danny, I am with Lee, and sat to my right is Mark Duffy.
Hi, I'm Lee, and we've got the guest today. Mark Duffy is a journalist in the East Midlands based, and this is going to be a good one. We're going to talk about a lot of things today.
So Mark, would you like to introduce yourself?
You've done a grand job of doing that already. Yes, no, I'm Mark Duffy. People in Ilkeston will know me mainly, if they know me at all, from working for the Advertiser for the last 15 years, among many other newspapers now, but and covering the mighty Ilkeston Town, Ilkeston FC, then Ilkeston Town again, and being very much a regular, not only in the press box, but also with the microphone there. My dulcet tones are broadcast across on the PA. So, yes, that's me.
So every time someone scores, you're the one that gives out, or the substitute, you're the one that gives out.
And the rest, and cars parked illegally and the rest of it.
Always seems to be a Honda Civic, doesn't it?
It does, yeah, and it's always parked, causing obstruction to somebody who lives just down the road who must get really annoyed by when there's a busy game. But yeah, so that's my main. Well, it's not my main job. I do that as well as the day job while I'm there. So yeah.
So how long have you been a journalist then, Mark?
I've been a journalist in terms of I've been working as a journalist for 17 years, which makes me sound incredibly old when I think about it. But I started off at the Matlock Mercury in 2003 as a news reporter, having done 4 years at uni, getting my qualifications in H&D and a degree in Yorkshire, and I moved back. I started there in 1998, which makes me sound even older, and because I grew up in Essex, so I'd moved a long way from home, and after I'd finished at uni, I moved back down south for 9 months, and then a friend of mine said, right, he worked at the Matlock Mercury, said, right, come back up. And I knew him through uni, and the opportunities are better up here. And so I moved back to Derby, I moved to Derby in 2003, and I've never left. I've never left East Midlands. I left Derby for about 4 years to live in Nottingham.
It's a fine line, though.
Yeah, I know. And I've never left. And I did 2 years at the Mercury, and then was sent to Ilkeston to start doing the combination news and sport, and then I took on sport full-time, also doing the Eastford Advertiser and still the Mercury too at times, and then eventually I took all three on by myself.
Wow.
And I worked in the office in Hena Road for 10 years before they closed it, and ever since I've worked from home in Derby, so and now have an awful lot more newspapers as a team. We work on right from Sheffield down to Bedfordshire now, probably have about 25 titles. I don't do all at the same time. I still have my main core ones, but so now I could be subbing reports from anywhere from Bedfordshire to Sheffield to Horncastle to wherever. So that's basically. So I'm kind of a sports writer, sports editor, whatever you want to call it, and but also getting out and covering games where I can as well.
I didn't realise how many papers you actually.
No, the company own a lot across the country. See, and as things have changed in terms of how the structure of the company's worked, we've just taken more on, and I work with 5 or 6 others in the Midlands as a sports team, and then we have many more they're all coming together a bit more now, and so day to day it's just more the subbing and the content of the papers, but I also like getting out. I cover Derby County a lot now, obviously, and just for that's more an online thing, and then obviously Ilkeston too. So that's my favourite bit about the job is covering the games and so on. But
I love going to games. I really do. I think it's better than watching it on TV because you get the atmosphere. Your job obviously is loads better because
it can be very cold in the winter.
Yeah, but you get comfy seats.
They're not much more comfy than the rest of them. I have to say, there's a table. That's about it. And even at Pride Park, the seats are no more comfortable. The inside bit where you get fed is nice, but the seat. I know I'd love to have heated leather seats, but just we're not that important to anyone. It seems to get that treatment, unfortunately.
So, what actually made you get into journalism?
I'd always wanted to do it since I was a kid. Because I've always been a football nut, so I used to just write reports from probably I was age about 10 or 11, and I'd just write 3 paragraphs on any game anywhere, and I just used to just do it. And I think that's what I always wanted to do. Not just, I think sports journalism was where I always wanted to be, but I knew to get to that point you have to really do, certainly when I was training and learning, you have to go down the news route first, because nowadays you've got football journalism degree courses at Derby, funnily enough. Didn't have that in my day, to try and avoid sounding old again.
You do's.
Back in the day. So you kind of had to get your qualifications and all of that through uni or whatever first, on post-grad courses, or like I did through doing the full shebang for 4 years. So I did that, and as a result of that, because you have to get all trained up on your law and your politics and all those kind of things, so it's a quite a multi-faceted area that you have to be trained on. And then I was a newsie for a couple of years, and then but I think I always was happy to do that, but certainly from the start my aim was to be a football writer, journalist, and the other sports too, but mainly football. And that was from a very young age, and then so it was nice to be able to finally do it, and has been ever since, to be honest.
So what's the best stadium you've been to?
Well, I was lucky enough to cover the playoff final at Wembley last season with Derby, and in terms of the facilities and obviously the stadium itself, that's amazing. In the same run, well, last season as well with Derby, when they went to Old Trafford, again, more of the facilities. The actual press seats are incredibly tight and not very comfortable, but in terms of the all-round thing, that was good. So yeah, I've been to quite a few other grounds in terms of in a working sense, but I actually love more doing the non-league grounds, and having spent years going home and away with Ilkeston, and we used to go to some proper little pokey grounds, but some of them had that much more character. And I think one of Stamford's old ground, the press seat is blocked, the view of one goal is entirely blocked by a great big pillar, so nobody ever sits in it because you can't actually see, so completely useless for a journalist. But I love those kind of grounds as well as the big fancy stadiums. So but yeah, in terms of the most impressive, obviously Wembley was an experience.
Been to Wembley in the VIP section for the Women's FA Cup final a few years back, Man City versus Birmingham, and that was amazing to be in. I enjoyed it. It wasn't the result I wanted, because I got a friend who was playing for Birmingham, and they didn't win, obviously, so it was a bit of a sour taste, that one. But and what's the best assignment you've ever done when you've actually had to go to a sporting event to cover?
Well, it's mostly, I mean, I've done various press days for things. I did one at Silverstone for the British Touring Car Championships, and that was a bit of an access all areas thing, because I was doing a feature on a local lad who was racing at the time, and so I went down there mainly to do a feature with him in the paddock. But as part of the day, we got to just go where we wanted. I mean, not in the middle of the track, obviously, but we were able to be in the pits and watching everything go on, and sit on the pit wall and watching them do their testing and things like that. And that was brilliant, because you really felt immersed in it. Different to anything to do with football, because football, you tend to go into the press room, eat your free food, go and do your thing during the game, go and do the post-match interviews. So you're not quite as immersed in it. But days like that, where I've done press days and other things as well, where you're completely immersed in the day and everything that's going on. I mean, the Silverstone day was great for photographers all over the place, because they're trying to get their shots for the new season and stuff of all the cars. So it was great to be part of that. I really enjoyed that. Really nice day as well. It was hot days. It was, so I did enjoy that. But normally it's just the days out with the football and going to a good ground and all of that side of it is all part of the experience. But I think that in terms of single assignments, those press days are often quite good fun, because they get well looked after as well.
Oh yeah, I remember one time I was down at Stamford Bridge covering a game, Liverpool versus Chelsea, and the first time I've been to Stamford Bridge with the press. Gets to go where you all go for your press and your food, and I've got to admit, it's probably one of the best places for food in the Premier League. It was absolutely amazing.
I would say that. I actually had I went to do Derby Huddersfield yesterday, and had a very, very good lamb hot pot in the media room, which went down very well. That was one of the better ones I've had there. So yeah, we get well treated, to be fair. I'm now going to try and get Ilkeston to prepare some hot pots for us.
Yeah,
we'll speak to the chaps there and see if we can. I won't hold my breath, but
we'll speak to the owners. In fact, we'll have the owners on at one point, and
professionally cooked hot pots before every game. I think we should.
and a pint of lager, or of local brewery.
We'll get there.
That sounds good to me.
Well, one thing I found interesting, the first time I worked alongside yourself, was the food after a game at the start of a New York Town was Domino's Pizza.
Yeah, that's all too rare. That we getting these pizzas delivered up to the office was always a bonus. Unless I was about to go home and have a big dinner or a takeaway home, then I couldn't have it because I'd ruin my dinner. Like your mum used to say, you ruin your tea if you have that. But yeah, on a day when I can have it, that's a great bonus. But we'll speak nicely to them. See if we can get that as a regular.
How far do you think we'll get with that one?
Oh well, I don't know. It depends, doesn't it? Really,
it does. Just taking it away from sport at this moment. Obviously, I know you, and I know things about you. I was just wondering if you'd like to talk about the let's call it not it is a tragedy, but it's life of an event that happened to you a few years back.
Yeah, so 3 years ago, my wife died of cancer. I was married to Nicola for 9 years, and we had a little girl, Grace, in 2014. But then just before Grace's first birthday, Nicola got diagnosed with breast cancer. And she, obviously, it was horrendous. I mean, at the time, and especially with a young child as well. And Nicola was a primary school teacher by career, and she was about to start a new job, and that all had to go on hold, and because she'd had a maternity leave, so everything kind of the whole life just stopped really. And so she had treatment for nearly a year, and then got the all clear, and obviously told to go and get on with her life, and we did. But then 4 months later, having just bought a new house and everything, the cancer then returned with a vengeance to her lung lining and her liver, eventually her liver, and she was diagnosed again, and obviously at this time it wasn't curable. So and she was treated then for another 11 months, and it progressively got worse and worse, and she then died in August 2017, and she was 35 years old. So it was to watch it happen and to have to experience it, and with a young child and a career and everything as well, was just a horrendous experience from start to finish really, because obviously I was in awe of how she coped with it, and she was a brilliant, bubbly, bright person who was just systematically dismantled by this horrendous illness. So it was obviously a horrendous time, but after it all happened, and she'd actually recommended I do it, I felt the need to write a blog about the experience then of trying to bring Grace, my daughter, up as a widowed dad, swiftly heading towards 40 years older than I am now, but at the time I was sort of 37, 38. And so because I'm a journalist, obviously I'm used to just writing things down or typing things out. And as a sort of cathartic exercise, I felt it was the thing to do. And I think the first one I wrote was about 10 days after Nicola died, because I was obviously not working. I was a lot of time to myself all of a sudden. And I thought, I can use my time effectively on a cathartic level for me, but also to try and help people who've been through a similar thing, of which there are many people, unfortunately, who have been through or are going through similar experiences. And and it started there really. And it sort of started with the first few months of just the aftermath of what had happened, and losing her, and trying to make sure everything was okay for Grace and make it a seamless thing for her, because obviously she was very young, she was just turned 3 when Nicola died, so didn't really fully understand what had happened, even though you try and explain it as much as you can, without being too, you can't. But she coped very well with it. But I'm trying to maintain that for her whilst, privately, struggling. And but but I've always been tried to stay very positive, and I think after a couple of months of the horrible grieving process, I just suddenly thought, I can't be like this anymore. I've got to be positive for her and for everybody else and for myself, because the grief I was going through was horrendous. And even though we knew it was coming to an extent with Nicola being ill for so long, when it actually happened, it was horrendous, and I needed to lift myself out of it. And doing the blog actually helped quite a bit. I had good people around me, and but Grace was the reason for doing everything. Really, she was keeping me, and so I did it for that, and for her to read as well when she's older, so she gets more of a feel for what actually happened at the time. Because even now,
and if it helps anybody actually get through that process as well, that reads the blog, and I've read the blog, and it is actually, for anybody that would be struggling, could help them in many ways. We will put a link to the blog on this podcast so people can read it. And it was actually reading it, it does actually put a lump in your throat, but you actually get to know you and how things were, and it's great that you've come back fighting. You're looking after Grace and your new partner. She sounds amazing.
And Kristen, who's my new partner, who we only met about 4 months after I'd lost Nicola, and obviously that raised a lot of eyebrows, not least with myself, that I'd suddenly met someone who I just clicked with, and she helped me a lot. And she's had to go through a lot. Anybody who's watched the Rio Ferdinand documentary this week will know how hard it's been for her. And the odds were against us because obviously everything had happened, and there were a few people judging us, and it's been hard. But and I've not blogged for a year because the last one I did was about meeting Kristen and the impact she's had on our lives, and the fact that now, against all the odds, we ended up staying together, and she's become a brilliant mother figure to Grace now. And we've just bought a new house, and Kristen's son Noah, who's 14, there's a family now. We've come together perfectly, but we're never forgetting what's happened in the past, and being complete. And Kristen is incredibly respectful to what happened with Nicola, massively so, and it's been hard for her at times, but she's been incredible, and it's helped me move on, which I had to do. And some might say I didn't have long enough in terms of being by myself, but I hated the grieving process anyway, and I never went out looking for someone new, but when it happened I thought I can't just dismiss it because of the timing and all that. It's all in the blog, and this is not me trying to plug the blog particularly, but it's such a complicated issue that but in the end, it's still hard, and I still struggle at times, of course I do, and I miss Nicola all the time, of course, but life is moving on now. I've hit 40 this year, and it's kind of or just last year actually, and it's about trying to move on, but whilst also never forgetting the input and role that Nicola played in mine and Grace's lives.
Do you think part 2 of the blog you'd do that soon? Talk about how you've come from that with your new partner.
Yeah, I mean the last one I did, which was about this time last year, actually sort of touched on how things have gone. I mean, I guess there's another one there somehow just to update that, I suppose, and maybe I will do it. But the whole point of the blog in the first place was being about the widowed daddy bringing a child up by myself, and in the end that was only really the case for a few months, because eventually once Kristen was living with us and then we bought the house, I've now got it's not by myself anymore, but mentally there's still the struggles at times, but that is obviously helped to no end by the fact I've got Kristen now, and so it's just the whole thing. I mean, if somebody had told me 3 years ago that this is where I'd be now, I wouldn't have believed them.
And from that, we will talk about our sponsor today. Today, it's a young lady called Kate Pruitt. She's sponsored this episode today. She works at Kirkcallam Community Centre. She's actually the caretaker and gardener. And also, she's my wife. I will say that, otherwise I'll get a slap. But top and bottom of it is, if anybody wants to go up for a meal in there, they've got a fantastic calf. The chef, Jade, she's worked at some really good places, and she's really good. All food is £3, and when you see it, you will not believe it. Honest to God, it goes from the garden to the plate, and it is absolutely amazing. And I'm actually honoured that she wanted to sponsor this today, and we're going to go on to something lighter now. We're going to talk about football. Now, there is a Chelsea fan, a Tottenham fan, and a Liverpool fan. We all have different views, but it all comes to the same thing. Liverpool are the best. Then it goes Tottenham, and sadly, I think Chelsea's in third place. What do you think?
Right. Well, I'll disagree, but let's not get into that discussion now.
Why not?
Well, I mean, the last result for me, I guess shows. Well, it doesn't show, but I mean, I think both Tottenham and Chelsea are going through a phase at the minute of change, new managers, new styles, and I mean a lot of. I mean, Tottenham's just got the new stadium built, so that shows that they're going into a.
It's a nice stadium. It looks it.
Yeah, that shows that they're looking to expand as a club, and then with Chelsea, where, well, I mean, the transfer ban was a big thing. Maurizio Sarri left, and then Frank Lampard. I wouldn't say inexperienced manager, but a new manager. A lot of faith put in him, which then he put a lot of faith into the academy. So a lot of players came through. Tammy Abraham, Mason Mount, and Fikayo Tomori, who was all out on loan the season before, came in, and now they're first team regulars or starters. And then with Callum Hudson-Odoi, we already know what he can do. I mean, despite his injuries, the injuries have recently, I think he's shown what he can do, especially on big occasions as well, with someone who we can rely on. And then we also have people like Azpilicueta and N'Golo Kante, who are experienced, and we can rely on when the young players are maybe struggling and need a bit of guidance.
With the Man City being banned from Champions League, do you think that Chelsea's got a chance this season?
Oh, I mean, 100%. I mean, at home we've been struggling. I don't know if that's because of the youth, or if that's because of a transitional period we're going through, or if it's literally just where we're not playing good enough and we've not got a good enough squad and we need to strengthen. I think only time will tell, but with now the top 5 clubs, when you take out Man City, so it'll probably be 1st, 3rd, 4th and 5th, whatever teams are in that order, will be playing Champions League football.
And then Sheffield United.
Oh, I mean, their story is incredible.
It is, isn't it? It is.
Just going from it was League One, wasn't it?
It was League One,
years ago.
Yeah.
And then they brought a few players from non-league, 2 players from Ilkeston, if I'm correct.
They brought Billy Sharping, didn't they, from Forest? Was it? No, he was on loan at Forest, and then he went back.
Sure, yeah. So obviously they then started getting players, started building a solid squad, and then, well, we know where we're at now, challenging for Champions League football in the Premier League, which is a bit mad.
And Mark, have you been to the new Tottenham Stadium yet?
Yes, I went in October to see them play Watford, and we were dreadful. Drew 1-1. That was one of Pochettino's last games. But no, it's a brilliant stadium. I used to go to White Hart Lane a lot as a child and teenager, and a bit, and again when I was an adult too. But I miss it. I miss the old White Hart Lane. It was great for what it was, but it needed updating. It needed updating, and the new one is very impressive. So I loved going there, and I'm trying to get down there again soon. Bit difficult living up here nowadays, and.
I've got a friend who's a season ticket holder, and he told me a story about there with the drinks, it fills it from the bottom upwards. Yeah, I'm like, I like that.
I didn't have one of those. Somebody told me about them, but no. Brilliant stadium. But yeah, I'm still can't get over the shock of us getting into the Champions League final last year. So I'm way behind. Still can't. Did that actually happen? But we won't go any further on that because Liverpool obviously beat us.
We did.
But
I will say one thing though, it did kill the game. After we scored in the first minute,
it did. It was a very dodgy penalty decision.
Agreed.
But it's always been. It's never been dull being a Spurs fan, and it's just nice to see us up competing for things nowadays. You know, when I was growing up, it was always sort of mid-table top 6, maybe. I remember the days of Gaza and Lineker when we finished 3rd, but that didn't get you anywhere. Then that was just the 3rd place. That was it. But it's interesting.
Do you think that Jose is going to get you, win you a championship?
I don't know he's going to win us a championship. Whether he'll have long enough to do that, I don't know. I just think there's other teams trying to knock Liverpool off the perch will be the first challenge. But he knows what he's doing. I think he'll win us a trophy or 2. I hope it'd be nice just to get some silverware again because we don't have a lot of that as many teams fans would like to remind us every now and again.
He normally wins something at a club is at. So
yeah, exactly. But no, I think the league is probably, we need far more players and better squad to have that chance yet.
are you looking forward to Kane coming back?
Yeah, we need him, and I hope more for England actually that he comes back before the summer because they need him for the Euros. But I mean, even though as we speak, I've just seen Heung-min Son knocking a couple of goals to beat Villa. He's a good goals backup and Bergwijn, but I think we need Harry back in there really.
So I like Son a lot, and I mean they only just won in the last minute today.
Last seconds, really. That was
And to be fair, I was kind of hoping Villa would. Well, they played really well, and I think it was unlucky that they lost today.
It was actually a poor game, even though it finished 3-2. Neither side were actually much good, and defensively, shaky, both of them. So, neither side covered themselves in glory, and a draw probably would have been about right, but we'll take it. Thank you very much.
That was like Liverpool yesterday. The way we played, we didn't deserve to win. I was like, first half we've normally scored a couple of goals, and then we're getting towards the end again. I'm thinking we need something because I don't want to drop any more points. I know we've only dropped 1 point, but I want to make it so that it's virtually impossible before we get to the end of the season.
You know what they say, the sign of a good team is one that can win without playing well.
Yes, that is true.
They'll be right, they'll win it anyway, but can they go unbeaten? That's the question.
So going back to Pochettino's last few games, what did you think when the news was announced that he had departed Tottenham?
I was gutted because of everything he'd done. I know he hadn't won any trophies with us, but obviously he gained a lot of affection from Spurs fans with the run to the Champions League final, the way he was in tears after the winner against Ajax, as I was, and a lot of other people were, because of the sheer drama of that, and it showed he really cared. But I was gutted when he left, even though maybe it needed a freshen up.
When you played Man City and VAR stopped them from winning, that was amazing.
Yeah, well, exactly. I mean, I hate VAR, but I'll let it off that day. It was a great thing that he did with us. But in the end, the Watford game I went to was one of his last ones, and things weren't right, and that was with a pretty full strength side, and it just didn't seem to be clicking. But irrespective of what Mourinho does, I would still have rather seen Poch stay on.
Yeah.
And put it right with the right signings and so on. But no, gone now, so on we go.
I say he built a great team with not a lot spent. When you think about it, I think last season he didn't spend a bean.
No, probably not. Didn't spend enough really. I think they didn't have enough depth, which is part of the reason why we kept not getting towards the title. Even the year Leicester won it, if we'd had a bit more about us, we might have had a chance. So there wasn't. Yeah, you got a lot of, because with the new stadium costing a lot of money, there was less likely to put as much into the team. But I still think he was 3 or 4 players short of where he wanted to be with it, and maybe that's the case now with Mourinho as well.
Well, if you could sign anybody for Tottenham, who would it be?
Living or dead?
Preferably living. No,
I know.
They can't score.
I mean, I'd take Glenn Hoddle back any day. Players like that, Gaza. I don't know, to be honest, and I'm not. I mean, it's so hard because there's so many. I mean, everyone could say, Messi and Ronaldo and stuff, but they're who they are. But I like Mbappe. I think he's a talent, and I suppose if money were no object, he'd be someone we could have. But I'm quite happy with people like, we've got Harry Kane. Son's a great player. I like Dele Alli, but I'd probably pick Mbappe just to be a bit cliche because he is that good.
He's a good player.
Yeah.
Let us.
I need to get talk.
Okay. We're just stopping. Okay, so Danny, who would you have at Chelsea if you had the choice?
So currently playing, yeah.
Currently playing, yeah.
I think it's a tough one because at the minute I think I'm quite happy with who we've got. But I mean, if I'm thinking of strengthening the squad now instead of just saying Messi, Ronaldo, because I mean, who wouldn't want one of them in your team? Well, I mean, I mean, if you put one of them into any team, they're gonna walk into it, aren't they? Really, but I mean, I would love Diego Costa back. To be fair,
Really?
So I mean, you can say like, I don't know. Well, that's why I liked him. Yeah, so it was nice having someone on the pitch who is always will put in rough tackle. We'll trying to get into the opponent's head. I think that's just something we're missing at Chelsea at the minute. So I mean, it's good having. I mean, well, I guess the younger players and then the more experienced, but I think we're just missing that one person. I mean, David Luiz was like it as well. I mean, that kind of player who will go to war and is happy to, do the dirty work on the pitch.
I'd love David Luiz at Liverpool. I really would. He's that kind of player for me. When he plays, he plays. When he's on it, he's brilliant. Yeah. I don't know what happened at Chelsea, but going to Arsenal, that's it's really bad.
It's strange because Petr Cech did the same thing towards the end of his.
He did, yeah.
I don't know. It's very strange that I don't really know much about it, to be fair. But I just find it very strange that Arsenal, out of all the clubs it could go to, especially after the Europa League final as well, it must have been something that you saw where you thought, you know what, maybe it's something that could maybe benefit me or something. A new challenge, a new kind of team, maybe. I don't know, but a local rival is just. It was a bit confusing when it was announced.
Back in the day, I was most upset when Sol Campbell left Tottenham for Arsenal. That was another thing altogether. I was so incensed. I rang a radio phone in.
Did you really?
And expressed my dismay. I think I was only about 16, 17, maybe a bit older. Yeah, and many Spurs fans were upset that day. So he went from hero to big villain in one go. So you're talking about players leaving for rivals. That left a.
He hasn't really recovered from that, because everywhere he's gone, nobody likes him.
I never would. No, he's all right now. If he was still playing, we give him a stick. But no, never went down very well. That. Then we had Ledley King, so we didn't care anymore. We had Ledley King, and that kind of took over. I'm just. You can tell I'm still healing.
Yeah. Well, that concludes our guest portion for today. It's been great having you along, Mark, and talking about your story and everything else in the world of journalism and sport. And we're going to have a little break now, and then I'm going to do a review on a real ale. And we're back after our little break. I'm now doing a review of a real ale. Part of the I love doing these podcasts, and this is just another level. I've actually got the studio that we're doing it. The guy that we're in, the guy that owns it is doing the review with me because he likes real ale as well. And it is called Plum Porter by Tannic Brewery, and it is absolutely gorgeous. 1 second. So. It's 4.9%, and it's just got a lovely colour to it, really has. And there you go, sir.
Thank you very much. Lovely.
Just smell that.
It is nice, isn't it?
It is. It really is.
Got a pair of headphones on. And, right. Wow.
It's 4.9%. And it's fruity red and deep.
It's fruity.
Really nice. I've actually drank this a few times, but when I went down to the Great British Beer Festival 2 years ago, Titanic Brew was there. I saw it there. I was like, I've got to buy some of this.
That is nice. Really nice.
And I actually really like it a lot. The colour of it is just unbelievable. To the light, it does actually look purple. It's just tasty. It's very tasty.
It really is.
You could have a session on this, and you probably won't get a headache. With it being real ale.
Yeah, it's so fruity. It really is.
You can get these in your supermarkets. You can get 4 for £6, which for real ale isn't that bad.
No, not at all. What's it called?
It's called Plum Porter.
Yeah.
And it's worth it. It is absolutely worth it. You can get it from Morrison's, Asda, or Tesco. Oh no, you can't get it from Tesco. You can Morrison's.
Oh, Morrison's is good.
So, but I could drink this all day long. It's the flavour is immense, the smell is immense, and the colour is just wow.
It is. It's sort of like raisins, isn't it? Currants.
Yeah. I do know that the pub next to the TSB in Ilkeston.
Yeah.
They have this on draft.
Right.
Never had it on there, but I know somebody that's had it and she loves it.
I don't know if I've been in. Which pub is it?
The Arbo Observatory.
Ah, yeah. Yeah, I know where that is.
But I was informed that it was on pump. I haven't been in yet, but it is definitely worth it. It is definitely worth it. And I don't think it's that expensive if you buy it from the brewery.
What do they say? 6
or 12 bottles. It's 12 bottles. And I can't exactly remember the price of it. However, I will do an update when I've actually found out exactly what the price is, because when I see this, I will go and buy it. With this, they do a few others. There's one called Iceberg. It's not a favourite of mine, but my wife likes it. But they also do one that's cherry, and it's the same intensity.
Is it?
Yeah.
Done with cherries?
Yeah.
Oh,
it's
right.
absolutely beautiful.
I do like those. The sort of sour cherry beers, and they're becoming quite popular now. With the sort of microbreweries and stuff.
They are, but they're also becoming quite expensive at times, depending. Yeah. I've actually got a friend who's got a micro brewery, and it's closer to Ena. It's called Light and Dark Ales, and it's some of the titles of the beer are titles of songs, rock songs,
right?
And they are quite amazing, but it's because there's demand and stuff like that. It goes pretty quickly.
Do you remember the songs? What songs are they?
Smoke on. It was a play on words on Smoke on the Water. Let me just see if I can find it actually. By Light and Dark Ales. Here we go. Ooh, excuse me. I can't find it. Dark and Light Ales, not Light and Dark. Oh, Google is my friend.
Yeah, and they're located, say, Ena.
Ena, yeah. And I think it's actually there was Smoke on the Water, but it was a play on words. They're on Facebook,
right?
But I don't use Facebook that often, so obviously. But once I find it,
It's definitely worth looking out for. That's
delicious.
Yeah.
They've done some real good ones, and I think for them it's like 6 or 9 bottles for £20. I think it's 6 bottles for £20.
That's not bad.
Not bad for real ale. I wouldn't pay that for like your Fosters or your Coors or all that.
No, but I mean for something that's been brewed with a little bit of love. Yeah, it's delicious. I mean, the thing is, you're strapped to find anywhere that will sell you a bad pint these days, because you've got so many places selling decent, sort of small microbreweries. I mean, I got into the Tiny Rebel stuff.
Yeah.
And I think there's somewhere in Wales, and it's the same sort of thing. Play on words. All the names are pretty quirky, but the stuff's delicious.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so good.
The only place I really didn't like last time I went was the brewery in Stoke, where everything is manufactured under license. There, it was horrible. There, it excuse the pun, but someone always said to me that real ale tastes like and smells like fart. Yeah, it depends on the kind of drink. It didn't taste or smell like it. It smelled worse. It was horrendous. And it's all the stuff that's brewed under license. Things that should be brewed in America and bought over here.
Right, yeah.
They've been done over here. It's like, nah.
I suppose they're probably subject to different regulations for the brewing process.
Yeah.
Because I've met a few people now that have been into the sort of microbreweries, and a few people have worked for them as well, and they don't care. They do it properly. It's not quite as stringent as, say, I don't know.
When you're getting money pumped into it left, right, and centre, and it's to a specific ingredients and recipe for the big breweries, they just don't care. But it's when it's micromanaged and there's only so many done at a time, people care about it.
Yeah.
This right here, although it's not a microbrewery, there's a lot of detail and attention gone into this drink.
Well, I mean, because of the way things are going, I mean, you can get a degree, and I think it's at Nottingham University. I might be wrong on that. I was talking about it a couple of weeks ago in brewing.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, this is how far it's come, and I think that with that in mind, there's going to be competition, and I think a lot of the larger breweries are going to have to sort of look at that and think, well, if we want to have something on the market that's going to compete in any way, it's going to have to adhere to some of the love and attention that the smaller people put into it.
There's a St Austell Brewery in Cornwall. Obviously I'm a St Austell Brewery ambassador for Proper Job. I'm going to review some of their stuff in the next week or so, but they do stuff that they've done one called Milkshake, where you think about it, it's cloudy, but God, it tastes lovely. It really does taste lovely.
Is it like an amber, like a light ale?
Yeah, but it's actually done with milk.
Really?
Yeah.
What? So it's opaque. It's got milk in it.
It's got milk in the ingredients. Yeah.
Blimey.
And it's been shipped out quite a lot. And if you go online to St Austell Brewery's website, it's always sold out. Everybody loves it. I personally love it. That's my second.
You've had it.
Yeah.
I mean, can you tell? Can you tell that there's milk in there?
No.
Who thought of that?
A really cool guy. His name is Rob Orton. He's the chief brewer, doing Proper Job and everything else there. He's the one that makes these. He basically plays around with what he wants to make. It'll do a small batch. If it takes off, then he will then put it out for further afield. Milkshake is very big in France and very big in Russia. It's very big over here, but you can't buy it because it's always...
Yeah, but the export, I suppose, is...
I think it was something like £22 or £23 a box. And I went down there last year and I bought the last box actually in the brewery.
Is there any way you can buy it, is it in pubs on draft?
Anywhere south of Bristol,
right,
you can buy it, but you can't buy it anywhere north.
So, okay.
But you can buy. I'm hoping at some point they will put it in supermarkets and have them as guest ales, because they will go. If you go down to Cornwall, there's a pub I always go to. It's called the Paul Guth Inn. It's an amazing pub, and they always have the best ales in from St Austell. And whenever I could try and get, if they ever had Milkshake there and I was there, that's the first drink I'll go for.
Whereabouts in Cornwall is that?
A place called St Austell.
Oh, it's
in St Austell. And also, an interesting fact: everything that's brewed from St Austell, everything that the bottles are meant to do a Proper Job, everything that you buy actually is brewed in St Austell. So it can be shipped, but everything so if you go to the shop now, you see a bottle of Tribute and Proper Job, and in some places, Karev, it's all brewed in St Austell, so they don't do it anywhere else.
Right.
And they sell a lot. It's great.
So will you be doing, ciders and stuff as well, or do you care for it?
Oh, I do. Yes. Yeah.
While you're down there, in Cornwall, you've got to try a few of the ciders. And,
I know you're into your whiskey.
I am.
And they do a whiskey. They've teamed up with Healy's Cider Farm. They've brewed a whiskey in the cider barrels.
I love that. Healy's is possibly the best day out at a brewery of any kind I've ever been to. It's
Yep.
incredible, and the tasting.
Yeah.
I've never been given so much. They should tell you to leave. Come on the bus and walk.
If you get down to St Austell and you go to the brewery, you've got to do, because they do tours. You get to see what's going off. Yeah. Me being a proper job ambassador, we always, whenever we go down, we take photos of what they're brewing that week, and we talk about, because it might be another. They did one called Eureka. Now they've stopped doing that, and that's really annoyed my missus. She loved it, but there's one that they do. It's called Harley Quinn, and I said before we went into the to the tour, we were stood at the bar. There was a Harley Quinn. And there was a milkshake. And I said to my missus, I'll have the milkshake now. When we get back, I'll have the Harley Quinn. So I had the milkshake. We did the tour. I came back. Harley Quinn had gone. And I was proper gutted. But
it's just the way it goes, isn't it?
It is.
From time to time. Yeah, I mean, we went to the Healy's and tried... They wouldn't let us try the whiskey. I think it's about 1,500 quid a bottle or something ridiculous.
wow.
But all the ciders needed some great ones. And as far as the whiskies are concerned, I mean, we went on a blending course about 3 or 4 months ago, maybe a little longer, 4 or 5 months ago. And the blend that a good lady and I came up with is actually up there. And probably not this evening, but at some point when you're doing one of these drinks reviews, sort of crack it open and give it a go.
Yeah.
Because it's seriously, it's pretty smooth.
Might I add though, this whiskey collection is pretty cool. I do like
You
it.
like it?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
It's just a boozer's picnic, really, and
It is, yeah.
I'm just waiting for that time to come.
Well,
Right.
I think that's it for this review today. Next week I shall be reviewing Proper Job, and we are done. Thank you for listening.